The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Can you hear me, Jason?
Yep. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, March 31st. The closeout of Q1 2025, you guys. And today is National Crayon Day.
Crayon or?
Yeah, crayons. Like, what's your favorite color crayon?
Crayon.
Crayon, man.
You make it, guys, to make it sound like spray paint.
You made it sound like a freaking crayon apple juice.
Jason, did you used to eat crayons?
No. I was never on that hype.
Crayons.
I did share my paste with a bunch of hot chicks, though, in first grade.
What's it called? Cranberries.
It's also National Prom Day, you guys.
That's cute. Did y'all go to prom?
I almost read that as National Porn Day at first.
You would.
Mm-hmm.
Prom's on the weekends, though, right? Am I that much out of the loop?
No, prom's on the weekends usually, yeah.
I mean, proms are.
Did you go, Jason?
What's that?
Did you go to your prom?
I don't remember. I don't really remember that.
You did not go.
I probably didn't.
Or something traumatic happened.
It's probably. I'm sure. Yeah, there's tons of traumatic stuff that happened in my life. Then I'm sure that it was.
That's a better story than what the rest of the national days are. You should run that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jason, how about it?
Speaking of that, Jenny Beth, it's also National Clams on a Half Shell Day.
I do love clams.
Mm-hmm.
Not those ones. Not those ones. Disgusting.
Interesting.
Yep. She said it on me. Mm-hmm. It's also National Bunsen Burner Day.
Okay, for all the scientists out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, burning buns, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, really?
Speaking of
some of them, not all of them.
Speaking of,
I think I can't be further disappointed. There you guys go.
We aim to please here.
Yeah, please aim.
I do. I aim right.
I'm not far enough into my coffee for this. You guys keep it rolling.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Tater Day today.
Yeah.
Potato.
Dictator. Mm-hmm. Dictator Day.
Ooh, I
see what you did there, Rico. That was cute.
Yeah, all right.
Just saying.
Lots of fake news going on in Rico's world today, apparently.
Just today?
Define fake news of what you guys call it these days, please.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to keep this thing rolling, and we're going to go right into the fake news specialist himself, the DEI daddy, the dope daddy himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
DEI daddy.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah. They call me protected class papa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm here for it, bro. I'm here for it.
President Donald Trump signed a very interesting executive order on Friday titled Making the District of Columbia Safe and Beautiful, where it sure does sound like he's turning our nation's capital into a police state and establishing his own Gestapo-styled task force.
God.
Just saying. Read directly from the. I even scraped out all of the news articles covering this, and I just read directly from the executive order. So, in a fact sheet accompanying the order that can be found at WhiteHouse.gov, the stated purpose was making Washington the greatest capital city in the world. Here's what it said. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to make Washington, D.C. what it should be, the pride of every American to whom it belongs. So in doing it, without reading absolutely everything, because it's pretty long here, I'm going to highlight the three biggest things that I thought here. So in doing so, the 47th president called for establishing a task force, officially known as the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force, that will be comprised of members of key government agencies on a mission to enhance law enforcement and public safety in Washington, D.C. You know what those coded words are for. Among a litany of bullet points straight out of Project 2025 playbook and pretty much everything Democrats were warning for in last year's election, should Trump get back into office, he most notably called for a surge in officers in D.C.'s public areas to enforce laws on drug use, vandalism, public intoxication, and also maximizing, actual words in this thing, maximizing immigration enforcement to apprehend and deport dangerous illegal aliens, including, and then also monitoring DC's cooperation with federal authorities. The order does not explicitly mention marijuana, but in the second section of the accompanying fact sheet, Trump claims that DC's failed policies have opened the door to disorder, and criminals have noticed. This is what it fucking says. Washington, D.C. abandoned traditional pretrial detention and effectively replaced it with quote unquote catch and release. It decriminalized marijuana, and it let rioters run loose even if they vandalize property and assault police. That's what you did, dude.
No, that's
You're
not.
the motherfucker who let rioters run on the Capitol and assault police.
That's fake
But
news.
let me finish this. All right. So Benzinga's Maureen Meehan wrote in response this morning that despite DC voters legalizing cannabis in 2014, a federal budget rider has continually blocked the district from implementing regulated sales, a restriction upheld during both Trump and Biden administrations. I know that Jason Beck and whoever else on the right of the aisle, I know we got all of our right-wing warriors onto this morning. I know you guys are going to give a gold medal performance in the mental gymnastics needed to spin this shit, but I'm pretty sure that the man that they called most pro-cannabis president of all time, who's neutered the voices of the actual pro-cannabis members within his orbit and hired the most draconian-minded enforcement officials to head the DEA and DOJ, would not be jumping at the opportunity to randomly blame DC's crime issues on decriminalization if you were actually pro-cannabis, that is. But what do I know? Prayers up for all the good folks in DC cannabis, as well as the citizens of our nation's capital that have surely been feeling the negative effects of our Mad King's latest declaration. This is not what a free nation looks like, and nothing we have witnessed over the first couple of months of Trump 2.0 should be normalized. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News.
So you're saying that we shouldn't be removing illegals? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying he's blaming the shit on weed, like of all things. He could have used his hyperbole.
You need to learn how to speak
else,
Trump.
No, hold on. He could have used anything else, but he chose to say that legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana has made these streets fucked up.
He's speaking on that he's speaking on that from a policy standpoint, as far as how DC has gone about it.
No, he's not.
It has yes, he is. He's speaking on this from a policy standpoint, Rico. He's saying that how DC has gone about this with no internal framework or whatnot in place to actually create a regulated market has caused mass chaos and whatnot, and really a big old free for all, in which he's 100% right on.
Yeah. There it is right there. The statement that I was waiting for to make Simone Biles blush.
Wow.
You're funny. You are funny.
Come on, he's blaming the disorder in DC on decriminalizing marijuana, of all things.
It sounded to me from the story that you read that was like 1/100th of what he said.
I would totally agree with that
He was
assessment.
not blaming the
No,
whole
I was
thing.
I was actually reading. Hold on. I was reading directly. No. I was reading directly from the fact sheet on WhiteHouse.gov.
Hold on, let Jesse talk.
talk.
You just did a whole bunch of talking. Go ahead, Jesse.
Please.
Go ahead.
Don't put words in my mouth, just like last time. I didn't read from the story. All in one
Never
quote
mind.
from Maureen Meehan.
Go ahead, Jesse. Go ahead.
Never mind. No,
The
I'm
beautiful
done.
part about this show is that we all have very, very vastly different opinions. In order for all those opinions to be heard, we must first let someone finish speaking and then retort.
Thank
so
you.
If we could do that as respectful adults and parents, I would love that for everyone on the show as well as the audience members.
Go ahead,
Well,
Jesse.
Jesse knows,
I'm
just
not
like last
responding.
time. Just don't put words in my mouth. Yeah.
I'm not responding.
Jesse, that's like acting like a 5-year-old, bro.
I'm not going to be continuously interrupted. He's still interrupting me.
He didn't just interrupt you right now.
I'm done.
Please proceed.
I'm done. I'm done.
That's weak as fuck.
That's fine.
I mean, I get interrupted a lot by some of the pundits on here, and I sometimes have to get a little like you did, just kind of repeating until you get your word in. But I also don't think we should rage quit on live TV either. So, like, I think that you do have the floor, and it would be nice to hear what you said because clearly you were passionate about wanting to say it, and I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Exactly. Thank you, Yarrow.
It was a tiny portion of what he said. He said a whole bunch of other things, and he definitely was not blaming the whole thing on marijuana, period. The end.
I agree with that.
And I'd like to build on that a little bit because I do think that the way that DC's decriminalization worked was completely short-sighted, and it has built this very traptastic situation in the DC area. So I could see how, it's not necessarily not a fucking problem.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. They didn't put any type of certain policies in place to have a well-regulated market. They just allow for this free-for-all whatever, and that's what they get. So he's not wrong with what he says.
Which I don't hate, and like in theory, like weed me is like fuck yeah, I always root for the bad guy. But if I'm looking at this from a policy standpoint, and I'm looking at this as something that we're trying to advance into an accepted, real industry that is looked at by people who are both pro.
Your response to Rico was that he was quoting a small portion, but what you didn't say was that he was misquoting a small portion. So I'm not sure that when we talk about what a president says, we have to talk about what percentage of what he says we're quoting. That's the first part. The second part is, if we can't all agree on the ass backwards nature of blaming partial decriminalization instead of full rules and regs on criminalization, then we are absolutely all looking at different stars and calling them the North Star. It is my personal opinion that the biggest issue is not lax gray areas when it comes to cannabis regulation, but a lack of thoughtful, thorough, and comprehensive regulation, and that the blaming of criminalization on a lack of cohesive regulation is blaming a pre-existing condition for an incomplete solution.
That's fair.
That was very well said, Yarrow.
Yeah, it was. And Yara, I'm glad that we got the memo. We're wearing black V-necks today.
Oh boy.
Matching.
Oh boy.
I often wake up and ask myself, not what would Jesus do, but what would
What was
Jesse do?
anywhere?
What would Jesse do?
I always wear a black V-neck. I have for like 15 years.
Quad. Let's
Occasionally
go.
you have to put it in the washing machine and swap out for another. But yeah, no,
I have 10 of them.
nice.
Whatever happened to those U-necks?
I
Remember
realize
those?
So
it's called a crew neck, I think, right? I don't know.
So back
the
to the
deep
crick
cut?
neck of what we're talking about. To blame half-baked regulation on criminalization and on a criminal element is really ass backwards. And so whether this was 1/100th or 1/10th or 1/1000th of what the president said, I think the thing that Rico was hoping to stir debate about was that this doesn't seem like a very forward-thinking cannabis situation.
I don't even think that's what the executive order is primarily about.
Yeah,
the
it's
current
not.
Situation is crime on the streets of Washington, D.C. That's all he's talking about.
Exactly.
And this over decriminalization that has resulted in partially being a part of that crime, basically creating a black market on the streets. That's all he's talking about.
Right,
So
but there's
it really has nothing to do with pro or anti-cannabis. It has to do with pro or anti-crime.
no,
And that's all it's talking about.
No, there's a fallacy in what you said, Jesse. You said creating a black market. Anybody who says that failed cannabis hold on. Anybody who says that failed cannabis policy is creating a black market is incorrect. So you may not have meant to say that, but if that's what you said, then you're not correct.
That's not what I meant. I meant that just saying that here's freedom on the streets and you can do whatever you want and it's decriminalized, that doesn't help the legal market.
Correct. But so this is where the disagreement comes from. Do we believe that the path forward is a comprehensive set of rules and regs that is both patient and business friendly? Or do we believe that the half measures that have gotten us to where we are in Washington, D.C. are the reason why there's a criminal element or disorder, right? And I think that is the crux of the differences of perspectives that ideally we can politely discuss on this show. Because quoting from the article, which quotes from the statement, it's definitely clear that Trump and his allies are not advocating for robust regulation and or
the point of it.
Legalization.
That's the whole thing. That's not even the point of it. The point of this is about crime in DC. It has nothing to do with cannabis regulation. He wasn't coming out to say what his thoughts on cannabis regulation were. It's an overarching theme of the crime in DC, which if you've been to DC, it is absolutely horrific there.
They got a lot of crime.
Doing anything to reverse the crime rate that specifically definitely comes a lot from the illegal immigration that's allowed and that they go there specifically. He's cleaning that up. We should support that. And if he makes a little mistake in the way that he's treating cannabis in the meantime, I'm not really worried about that because that's not the focus of the executive order.
All right. So he directly blames the decriminalization of marijuana in it. There's one section in here, I have it open right now, and it says exactly what led to the crime on the streets, which is leading to his Gestapo force being unleashed on the streets of DC.
Come on, Gestapo.
Let him quote it. Of the three, oh, you're gonna let me finish right now?
Yeah, I've always.
Right, so he lists three things. A, abandon traditional pretrial detention and effectively replace it with catch and release. This is what he says that the Biden administration did. B, they decriminalized marijuana. And C, they let rioters run loose even if they vandalize property and assault police.
Well, all those things did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like he's just stating
decriminalization happened in 2014.
I agree that the decriminalization didn't happen under Biden. I do agree with that. Okay, but like, that's not the
things to call out that are the failed policies that opened the door to disorder. Like,
but not having a policy in place is a failed policy.
Is one of them.
Not having a policy in place is a failed policy, though, Rico. That's the point.
Yes.
Is it? Let me ask you guys a question. You know, I have these children, and while I love them, it is the thoroughly most enriching parasitic relationship I've ever had. And one of the things that I have noticed is their ability to summarize problems well for me. And what I'm hoping to instill in them is the ability to summarize proposed solutions for me. If I was to listen to this press release, I would think that the people who were writing this and thinking about the talking points weren't really coming up with any solution. And so if this was the preamble to rolling out more comprehensive solutions, policy solutions, I would be jumping up and down in my seat. It's not. And I think we need to be able to acknowledge that.
They did actually have one little policy solution, because they shipped out a bunch of trendy Agua and MS-13 members back to CCOD over in El Salvador last night against the judge's order. So
Agua and MS-13 are not my favorite cultivars. I'm talking specifically about the failed cannabis policy that he is citing, that Rico has repeatedly reminded this group of panelists actually was part of the announcement. Did we hear any solution, any proposed solution, or even more importantly, any proposed solution with a rollout timeline? And if the answer is no,
well, how is the federal government going to do that when a federally illicit substance? That's going to be the district's job.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
So we all listen to the chat. Mm-hmm. And we are back, you guys. We are back.
Yeah, we are back, y'all. Just like we said we would be.
Mm-hmm.
And up next, it is the man. He is a 3-time gold medalist in mental gymnastics that he puts other people through. The man who is advocating most for Donald Trump's third term.
I'm all about it.
With the second story of the day, Jason Beck. What do you have for us today?
I am so here for a third term. That would be so awesome. So for
bend
that.
The knee, bend the knee. Bend the knee,
here
King
for
Trump.
that. Well, let me tell you something. Who's not a king today, you guys? That's right, because a California cannabis company with 16 dispensaries and $100 million in revenue collapses, you guys, just like it was Rome. One of California's leading cannabis companies announced Thursday that it is seeking receivership, looking to sell off all of its assets as it faces mounting financial losses and eventually to shut down the sprawling business. Gold Flora CEO Lori Holcomb said in a Thursday news release that it was a difficult but correct decision to sell off the company's 16 dispensaries and 100,000 square foot cultivation campuses through a voluntary receivership in Los Angeles. Holcomb said the company has over $100 million in annual revenue, but is facing mounting lawsuits related to a business merger and debts that make the company unsustainable. Cannabis companies across the state have failed over the past 2 years as expensive regulations, high taxes, and competition from the illicit market make the business increasingly tough. Gold Flora owns some of the state's leading dispensaries like Airfield Supply Company in San Jose and Comma in West Hollywood, as well as multiple brands and large growing facilities in Desert Hot Springs and San Jose. The company said it expects to keep operating these subsidiaries as it seeks to sell off all of its assets through an orderly sale of the business, they say. Cannabis companies are blocked from declaring bankruptcy, the most common tool used to shut a failing business down because of federal prohibition of the drug. Instead, companies usually go through court-monitored receiverships where an attorney auctions off the company's assets to repay investors and creditors. Gold Flora merged in 2023 with TPCO, another California pot company that burned through $575 million and was partnered with rapper Jay-Z. That TPCO is better known as the parent company. Then it failed. Gold Florist still has the rights to distribute Jay-Z's Monogram cannabis brand in California, though it is not clear if it is still selling the products. Holcomb said in a news release that many of the company's liabilities are due to lawsuits with inherited with the TPCO business combination. And Gold Florist said in a 2024 financial filing, the most recent posted to its website, that it was facing lawsuits from investors and business partners in Orange County, Delaware, and Santa Clara County. The company expects to be placed into receivership in Los Angeles Superior Court, and that is all that we have on this. So, Lori, I am so sorry to hear about all of this for you guys. My heart goes out to y'all in this. I know receivership is the worst, and it sounds like she's passing the buck on the parent co on Jay-Z. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I mean, we've been through it. It sucks. Like, I actually operated companies in receivership, actually came in during the receivership to handle operations. And what I can tell you is overwhelmingly true usually is that the books are egregiously off. So I think that, sorry to hear you going through it, but I don't appreciate leadership trying to pass the buck. Receivership is a glaring example that you have failed somewhere. And the way to not fail and to be successful going forward is to figure out and accept responsibility for, hey, this is how I fucked up. So if you're going to speak on it, say, this is the mistakes that I made. Here's how you don't make these mistakes going forward. And as far as being able to sell Jay-Z's brand still, like, why does it matter if you can sell it if nobody wants to buy it? So I would probably suggest pulling that back as well.
That's a very good point, Jenny Beth. A very good point. I don't know anyone that was trying to buy his brand. That is a good, solid.
Cannabis is like show business. You're only as good as your last round, right? Like every harvest is a struggle. And I think, Jenny, first of all, I think you're funny, and I'm so grateful to be on this show with you. And secondly, I think the thing that really stood out for me in this article was that when Gold Flora bought the parent company, they bought with it the liabilities of that company. And they talked about how the lawsuits that they had to deal with was a drag on their top line or their bottom line if they had a bottom line. And so they inherited lawsuits. And so I don't think any of us take any joy in watching a company with $100 million in sales fail. And when you buy something, you get the good, the bad, and the ugly, including the trailing liabilities. And that's a big issue. They are using the best in the business receiver, a gentleman, an attorney down in SoCal who has an impeccable reputation. And I think he'll probably do the best he can to realize as much value out of their assets. And clearly these assets are valuable. You don't sell $100 million worth of product without doing a few things right.
That is true. That is very true. And, and Lori is a very, very smart lady. Like, so, like she's not a dummy. But it sounds like she did acknowledge, like, a lot of the mistakes was when they purchased the parent co, and all of these lawsuits were attached to that.
And this is why we do due diligence when we acquire other businesses, and that's why we try and check the stream of litigation that could be attached to these assets that we're purchasing. Because if you're buying a bunch of liability, I'm sorry, still, and she is smart. I'm not taking anything away from that. She's very smart, but this was a bad decision. Well, horrible position, very, very bad.
I mean, so let's unpack that for a second, right? The probability that they didn't know about these trailing liabilities is very low. The possibility that they min-maxed what they thought their exposure was on those and that they misjudged that is much higher. And so if they're buying something warts and all, and they've calculated out what they think the cost of those things might be, and they get surprised or they get their clock cleaned in civil court, I'd like to think that could have happened to even the most diligent acquisition team.
Well, I mean, and it's not about, part of the due diligence process is to take all those facts, sit down as a board, digest them, and say, hey, how much of our ass is exposed here? Are our pants fully down, or can you see the bottom of my cheeks, right?
Oh,
so,
that's cute.
they did a poor job in fully evaluating what the liabilities were, and I think that's a large portion of the failure here.
Agreed.
You have any thoughts on this, Jesse or Rico?
Yeah, I covered it when they first went into receivership in December. So we saw this one coming. So
well, they didn't go into receivership in December because it sounds like they haven't even been issued a receiver. It sounds like they're just now going into this.
December 3rd, 2024, I covered the story. Jay-Z's luxury cannabis line bites the dust 4 years after debut, and the parent company was acquired by Gold Flora Core last summer. Currently, Gold Flora is in the midst of receivership proceedings.
Being in the midst of proceedings and actually going into are two different things. So I think you guys are both correct here. I think that they began the proceedings in December, and now they're finally actually going into receivership, which is quite a bit different. Because you have to be able to go into a receivership, you have to go through a process where the judge says, hey, listen, yes, issuing a receiver, like this company might actually be able to, one, pay the receiver, which is a requirement, and two, have a pot to piss in so that this receivership is even worth doing, right? Opposed to just shutting your doors and saying, fuck off. So to be able to go to through receivership, you have to prove a lot of barriers. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to go file a bankruptcy tomorrow type process. It's a lengthy situation.
And shout out to Richard Orman, who has an impeccable reputation and who I don't know well enough, but do know personally. And, they play a vital role in trying to maximize the value of things that are on the downward decline and where there is still value that needs to be unlocked and or realized, whether it's shareholders who are getting pennies on the dollar. It would be unfair of us to think of receiverships or people who provide that service as just sort of ambulance chasers when in really trying circumstances, they do their best to try to get as much value as possible out of the going concern.
Yeah, and the goal is to transition back to the original owner if possible, right? So it's a very interesting situation.
Very, very interesting. And on that, we are going to keep this train rolling. We are going to roll right in to Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co. and can help your brand elevate to the highest plateaus with graphic designs, branding, and quality that surpasses all. That's right, is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney. You're on mute, Jess. You're on mute, Jess.
He's not speaking.
He was.
I thought I hit it.
No, there we go. Now we got you.
My story comes out of Oklahoma this morning, and the headline is Lawmakers and state leaders react to alarming report on the impact of marijuana in Oklahoma. A new report is raising concerns about Oklahoma's marijuana industry. The study focuses on a range of areas affected by the legalization of medical marijuana. This is one of those challenging moments where they say, okay, Oklahomans voted to be able to allow medical marijuana, but I don't think a lot of Oklahomans realized when that vote actually occurred what the consequences of that would be, said U.S. Senator James Lankford. The state has more than 5 times as many licensed dispensaries as Colorado and nearly twice as many combined dispensaries. Oklahoma also has 12 times more licensed growers than Colorado and over 3 times as many combined medical and recreational growers. Colorado has 2 million more people than we have, said Senator Lankford, and the industry produces more than 32 times the supply needed. The significant oversupply is obviously created based on trying to be able to traffic marijuana all over the country, said Senator Lankford. And that is about as long as the story is. I think that we all kind of knew this. Oklahoma has had an incredible amount of cannabis being grown, both on the hemp side, the medical side, and the recreational side. And as far as we know, they are supplying the black market for most of the country. So I'd love to hear what everybody has to say.
Man, I mean, Oklahoma has just always been just, almost like its own worst enemy in the sense. You know what I mean? What's What's that, Jenny?
Oh, good old Smokelahoma, where there's too much weed and too little of it is staying in the state.
I mean, that's been the situation ever since they started there. You know what I mean? Like anyone can get a license for $500, you know, and
it's 2,500, but yeah,
it's 2,500. I mean, it's only 500s.
500. Hey, it's less than my rent. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just they themselves in the ass with those Oklahoma shit kickers right now because I don't know what they thought was going to happen. Now, I do have some people who are doing a great job in Oklahoma, and that's shout out to them, both on the retail side and on the cultivation side. But I've seen many more cases where they've gotten fucked over.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of restarts, trying to get a good partner, trying to get something that's not in litigation, trying to get something that's actually properly licensed because maybe somebody licensed something. The city's licensed in one. There has to be two, right? There's the OCCM and then there's the Drug Administration license. So those maybe weren't put in the same name. So now they're both invalid. Like there are a lot of things that Oklahoma's done that make very, very little sense to me. So I think, oh, look, balloons. Yahtzee. You know, it's interesting.
Well, you know, the one thing that Oklahoma did get right is they have the best policy for owning firearms and being involved in cannabis. That's probably what they did the best out of everything that they've done in that state.
All right, well, there's something.
I mean, I just can't imagine being a business in Oklahoma with all that competition. It's like the race to the bottom has to be insane.
Jesse, it's all THCA at the end of the day.
I know, but I mean, what's the price per ounce there? What is it? Are they selling like $10
One
ounces?
straw penny, Jesse.
What's that?
One straw penny.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yarrow, you ever do any real estate transactions for grows out there in Oklahoma?
No, and you know, I'm wrestling with my internal biases because while I've been an incredible good boy and Boy Scout and haven't dipped a toe in the illicit market since the government took all the fun out of the medical days for me, I also have a lot of people and communities I care about that probably continue to benefit from the unregulated market. And Oklahoma eviscerated the opportunities for those California producers because people could get B-grade cannabis and not have to move it all the way across the country. They could only move it halfway across the country. And so I watched the impact that had on some of those communities that did still rely upon those illicit use sources of funds to be able to prop up businesses and families and all of the things that make communities vibrant. And so as much as I blame the regulations in California on the decimation of important, beautiful, rural agricultural communities, but also equally blame Oklahoma because they just made so much cannabis. And why is somebody going to take the risk of going from Cali to New York when they could go halfway instead? I also comes up against my own personal philosophies around free market. And do we really have a free market? Do we have the illusion of a free market? Do we have dual tier opportunity in this country? I like to think that theoretically a free market is a pure approach to capitalism that doesn't require winners and losers and where steel sharpens steel and let competition make for the best outcomes that ideally benefit consumers and patients. And yet we see these divergent markets. You know, Florida, where a license is worth gazillion dollars, and Oklahoma, where you can find a license dropped on a bathroom floor like a $1 bill out of the back of someone's pocket. And so neither of those seem to serve stakeholders. And so what is that balance of not having a limited license market and not having just an unlimited license market? I don't really know the answer to that. I tend to think that it's not fair when we have these limited license markets. But when we look at Oklahoma, it's clear that they built in a supply issue by just not really thinking about the total addressable market within their state. And until we have the ability to legally export across state lines, it probably doesn't make sense to just issue as many as they want to.
I mean, I think they saw, hey, you know what, we're going to charge for all these licenses, and then we'll let the market kind of figure itself out, and we have enough people coming here from Texas that are just going to buy enough weed that to sustain ourselves.
Well, here's the thing I don't know. Here's the thing I don't know about Oklahoma. Where I live, licensing fees across the board, whether you're building something or you're getting a permit to have a duck pond, the licensing fees have to be commensurate with the cost of the government administering that license, right? So I don't necessarily believe that everywhere we go, all licensing fees for all government is a revenue-producing activity. Mm-hmm. So, and the low cost of their licenses, whether it was $500 or $2,500, wouldn't indicate to me that was some sort of financial bonanza.
It was because they sold like 10,000 licenses at $2,500.
What did it cost for them to administer it? That's
probably like 50. Gas is cheap out there, Yarrow.
So, I mean, let's really talk about what happened in Oklahoma, and let's not pretend like we don't fucking know, because we know as California operators and California residents and people who are paying attention, who flew their asses out to Oklahoma.
Everybody that couldn't make it in California flew to Oklahoma to be a fucking big shot.
Jason, shh.
Oh, I thought you were asking a question. I'm sorry.
No, and even if I wasn't finished with it. But
My bad.
This is rhetorical.
I thought you were asking me a question.
All these California operators that couldn't make it, that weren't making money, giddy up on down there, and he's now closed up there as well. But they did it not because they thought they were going to sell a bunch of weed in Oklahoma. This was designed to be a fucking cheap trap entry, right? For people who couldn't sell their shit here. So while we're screaming this fucking sucks for the trappers of California, I blame the trappers of California for going to Oklahoma and cutting the dicks off the other trappers in California.
And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, okay.
Oh, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you'll be able to read on our website at www.high9news.com. And Jesse has a little service announcement he'd like to announce.
Yeah, a little PSA. One of the brands that I worked for, full disclosure, they're called Baked by the River out of Lambertville, Jersey. They are being summoned to the NJCRC because they had a consumption event at their dispensary that was not public. It was closed off and private, but still some cops showed up and there was some issues. So they are going to be appearing before the NJCRC this week on Thursday. So if you know people in New Jersey, they need help commenting and showing up to the meeting and appearing and testifying. So you can go. We're going to share, Jason.
It's in the description. The link is already in the description of today's video, okay. Right in the middle of the stories where you find it, and boom, go ahead. You can copy and paste that link right there and go off to town.
Yep. So you could go comment. I think anybody can comment no matter where.
Anyone can comment. Yeah, it's a Google form.
So all of us can go comment, and then people who are in New Jersey can go show up. So if you know anybody in New Jersey, send them to Baked by the River's Way and follow through on the link. You can help these guys out.
And don't forget Baked to get baked today.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door. And then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
And
Can we
we
do that with a little more enthusiasm?
and
If I had
we
the
are back.
opportunity to introduce you, I'd be like, heck yeah.
We are back, you guys. We're live.
I want to make you sweat, Yarrow.
Mhm.
All right, coming up next.
Promises,
So, Tom's a little
promises.
sweaty. It's not his mom's spaghetti. He just was scared I was not going to introduce him this morning. Second generation cultivator from the Shire. He's come out from under his lily pad this morning with his long chalet of a pipe, and he is going to let you guys know what's what. The angriest elf on the high at 9 shelf, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Woo! Woo! And the crowd goes wild.
They're going insane.
Yeah, I am the Russell Crowe, the gladiator of High at 9 News.
Oh boy.
Hear him back in the background, and I'm like, are you not entertained? So, without further ado, thank you, Jenny, for the intro. Love ya on and off camera. You're awesome. My article is from New York. We knew that New York would continue to be the gift that keeps on giving. And so my article is about this gentleman named Michael Flynn. Okay. And Michael Flynn, then I'm going to do like my Rico thing. I'm just going to summarize it because it's a bit of a long
article.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a long article. And it's, grandma told me it's not the length of your article, it's how you read it. And so I'm going to just summarize it. And so Michael Flynn is a guy, he was justice involved. He got at the front of the line when it came to regulated cannabis in New York, got some permits, and then came out with a brand called Flintstone, has been very overt on social, green Lambo, whoop-de-whoop, flexing, and blah, 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 and has figured out that there's opportunity in leveraging his visibility, creating a brand, and licensing that brand to other retailers in New York. And he's not an investor, and I don't believe he has a rev share, and he has allowed people to benefit from the visibility and the experience he has, and partnered with a bunch of retailers, or not partnered, but done licensing for his brand. And so now he's come under the ire of not just the regulatory agencies out there, but also some of the community boards, which have made disparaging comments without any specificity, saying there's red flags there and they're just not comfortable. And the community boards, for those that are not in New York State, are an additional layer of policy and politics that people have to navigate in order to get permission, approval, co-opted buy-in to be able to put their dispensaries in locations and neighborhoods. And so these people don't like him, and now they're questioning whether he's violating, if not the rule, but the spirit of the law, because he is basically franchising the brand name and allowing other operators to use it. And so this article didn't really offer any specificity, any sort of detailed allegations. It indicated that some of the community boards believe that he's already being investigated by the Office of Cannabis out there. And this gentleman is just trying to do his thing and make money and leverage the opportunity. And so I felt bad for the guy, not because, clearly he's not down to his last dollar. He's flexing his green Lambo. But I felt bad for the guy because in this article, they were using the types of talking points that we've seen in California around social equity operators being tokenized, gamified, predatory business terms. And this guy qualifies it as justice involved out there. And they're talking about whether he's taking advantage of people in doing his licensing deals. But, just because there's smoke doesn't mean there's fire. So that's my article. New York continues to give me ample opportunity to cover their dumpster fire. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, Monday morning.
Jason, you should be like Yarrow. When you have a large article, read it first and summarize it.
And
excellent reporting, Yarrow.
And you're telling me how to do what I do, Jenny Beth?
Yeah.
Yeah, get in line.
No, she's telling you
Take
how
a
to
number.
do it better.
Take a
That's
number.
all.
Take a
You don't
number,
have to
Jenny
do it
Beth.
better.
Take a number.
I'm taking number 1 because I am the best and I'm also not wrong here.
And we're just gonna put a pause on the line.
So
So
we are.
this is a guy that just happens to be named Michael Flynn, not General Michael Flynn, correct?
no, one's a trader and the other is an
Oh,
entrepreneur.
easy there.
I'm just saying what the convictions were, not what my convictions are. There's a difference.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to get overturned. So this guy, I'm a little confused as to why the state is going after this one individual. Like, why is he being targeted, Yarrow?
Because he's doing a licensing fee to retailers in exchange for them benefiting from his brand visibility.
Yarrow's about to kiss that dog in the mouth.
I'm confused. You mean he's charging slotting fees?
No, he's allowing them to use the brand Flintstone for their retail locations and realizing revenue from it.
How is the brand Flintstone even get past the OCM as far as not advertising to children?
Well, I'm not sure whether the play on words is a lack of compliance versus where the advertising is done. And he has his own dispensary, so he had already gotten approved for the name.
But I thought that if you have a dispensary, you're not allowed to have your own brand. In New York.
Here's the truth, Jason, and I hate to say this in the most polite way, but you're old as fuck. There's not a young kid under 18 that even knows what the Flintstones
That's
is.
not true, bro, because kids are still taking Flintstone vitamins, so that's not true at all.
Flintstones is a cartoon from when you were a wee lad.
It's a vitamins, bro. It's a vitamin now. It's just a vitamin now.
Halloween, there are still families that all dress up as the Flintstones.
There is.
Like, come on, dabba do, buddy.
Yep.
I mean, this is a cautionary tale. Hey, jackass, if you're doing something that might not be fully legal or fully by the book, don't do it on your Instagram with your green fucking Lambo.
But what if he's not a jackass? And what if he's just an enterprising entrepreneur? And why are they focused on that instead of doing a better job at rolling out a regulated market with less taxes out there?
Because governments go after easy targets, and obviously this guy was an easy target. They go after the low-hanging fruit, Yarrow.
I do.
You know, kind of like what your dog is doing.
I was so frustrated with this story, so there's that. Hey, puppy.
I would imagine that that name Flintstone is going to come under some IP fire from Hanna-Barbera at some point.
I'm sure it would.
Yeah, it's definitely the gorilla glue of 2025.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute, Yarrow. I see what you did there. The gorilla glue. I mean,
when I make an IP joke, I'm glad that you track. I thank you for that.
I mean, I feel like the only place this could play is in Michigan if you were a cannabis company in Flint.
Yeah, but it's not spelled that way. It's Flynn.
I'm just saying you could spell it however you want, Jesse.
Well, yeah, you can, but he didn't.
Well,
listen, the bottom line is this guy was a glaring example. He was a very easy target because he made himself that way, right?
He did.
Closed mouths closed mouths don't get fed, right? So he opened his mouth and they fed him something.
He FAFO'd.
It's easier to look like or give the appearance that you are effectively regulating operators if you grab someone who is very, 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 very public, right? There's a reason why people who sing songs like "Fuck the Feds" get arrested. There's a reason why guys who drive green Lambos get arrested, because it's an easy example to make.
Steve Blessingham in the chat, he wants to know if any of them are making the bedrock. That's pretty funny. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Steve. That is pretty good. And on that, we are going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested, every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Yeah.
And we are back, and we are going to roll right into Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She has her hair in rolls today, and bunion, and she specializes in cannabis compliance, is exactly what that company in New Jersey needs that Jesse mentioned at our promo position. That's right. She also does Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their life back on track. And that's right, it is America's sweetheart herself, Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Yes, the foul-mouthed Southern Belle here to tell you a thing or two about what should not be happening in Germany right now, because this is terrifying.
Oh, boy.
Remember, we've been following Germany. I have some German investments going on and investment opportunities if you're interested. But we're looking at a very conservative government moving into where we had somewhere that was a little bit more free and lax. So 2 senior members of the German conservative CDU-CSU bloc, led by Friedrich Merz, are demanding a reversal of the legalization of cannabis last year by the outgoing socialist SPD-led traffic light coalition. The Augsburger Allgemeine reported a reminder of a diverse issue that could sour talks about new coalition government. We want to reverse the mistake of the traffic light and ban cannabis again, Bavarian Health Minister Joachim Herrmann told the newspaper. The Southern Region's Health Minister Judith Gerlach also criticized the legalization of cannabis for recreational purposes, saying the measure should be withdrawn quickly and completely, the paper reported. The Conservatives are currently locked in coalition talks with the SPD, and disagreements around cannabis legalization could represent another stumbling block. Other thorny issues include taxation, welfare, energy, and migration. Merz and 18 other top officials from his CDU-CSU bloc and the center-left SPD are looking to iron out remaining obstacles over the next few weeks. And their self-imposed target is to have the coalition deadline done by Easter on April 20th. You jerks. Negotiations so far are spread across 16 working groups involving more than 200 party officials. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government took pride in the partial legalization of cannabis last year, drawing the experience of countries such as the Netherlands, Canada, and the U.S. Merz conservatives, who got the largest share of votes in February's election, have pledged to reintroduce the ban. So this is terrifying. I'm usually of the opinion that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. However, if anybody has the government chutzpah to put the toothpaste back in the tube, it would be the German government. So we're just going to keep advocating and hope. As I was speaking there last year, I realized that their medical community is really, really medical, and they are completely closed-minded to any other use that is not very sterile, prescription-based use. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys. I'll have some comments later on, but this is a scary situation.
So this is super interesting. If they do and roll back on a lot of these policies, because I've been told by a lot of different people that in Germany is like the place to be on 420, and like people just it goes insane over there on 420, and everyone sells out of their product even more than even anything that you see in New York, anything here in the States, and like that's like the lead destination. So I wonder if there's going to be a lot of arrests and a lot of clamping down this 420 in Germany this year.
Well, I mean, Jason, what you said? I'm sorry, I got a phone call from someone, and I had to ignore it. But
basically, in Germany is apparently the new premier 420 destination in the world.
I hadn't got that memo.
Well, you just did just now. This High at 9 News. We're breaking things all the time.
Yeah. Point might be a little broken, because I still think there are many other places where people are going to go before Germany, especially because to access cannabis in Germany, you have to go pretty far outside the metropolitans. Like, they're very spread out as where the clubs can be and the places that are allowing them. So I don't think that that's necessarily it. But
from
hey,
what I'm told, it is.
I think, well, okay, well, I'm glad that you've been told that, but I've been there in the last year. So
You haven't been there for 420.
yeah, okay, cool. But I don't think they move the locations for 420, Jason. So
Well, I'm not saying that it's even happening at any of those spaces. I'm saying like they're having like actual like 420 events out there in the streets.
Amazing. I love that. If this is reversed, then yeah, it would be reversed on 420. So we shall see what happens. I don't think that the government usually handles things on a Sunday. So it's very interesting that they chose to do it this time. But we're going to see.
That is the date that it actually goes into effect, is on Sunday, 420?
That's their goal, to be done with the negotiations and hammering everything out. And so saying that they're going to do that on a Sunday is pretty... I just hate when governments try to use like our stuff against us. Like, oh, yeah, the fine for driving while high is $420.
I think that's funny. I like that. I think it's cute.
I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny to make a mockery of something that we're fighting for really hard.
I'm happy that they use 420 and not 710.
I just think it's a joke that they think that, any regression in legalized cannabis is somehow going to change human behavior. It's just this weird policy paradigm where people think that they're either giving humans permission or not giving humans permission. All you're doing when you stand up a regulated market, for those politicians and lawmakers that might be tuning in, is all you're doing is creating a framework for what's already existing for the most part. Maybe you're adding in some consumer safety. You're probably getting your little tax beak wet. But, Germany sold over $100 million just in seeds in 2023. What do this? I mean, this party is coming in and they're just trying to pendulum swing back. It reminds me of our article that we covered earlier about Washington, D.C. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. The toothpaste is squeezed, as Jenny said. And why shouldn't Germans be able to smoke as much as they drink and do it on the streets like they do with Oktoberfest?
I mean, they're not going to ever have like Oktoberfest. I mean, in a regulated marketplace in Germany. I don't see that. They're way too conservative.
Number 420 destination in the world.
It is, but that's not a regulated event. That's like a little trapper event. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like 420 in New York. It's like Trapper Central.
Okay.
Yeah. You have anything you want to throw in on this, Jesse?
I mean, as far as I know, Germany was one of the first countries to sell weed or buy weed internationally and do some trade with Canada and I believe South Africa. So it's very odd to me that having such a progressive economic engine that has already started in that country, that they would even go back. I mean, are they going to actually do this, or is this just some much ado about nothing, really?
Sounds like, I don't know. I mean, Germany is a, they're pretty militant out there. We'll see. Time will tell. And we're going to continue to follow this story, especially if it's going to be something that's going to happen on 420, you guys. Man, that's going to be interesting. Super, super interesting. All right, well, I'm going to roll into our final story of the day, you guys. I hope you're going to love this. That's right. We're bringing it back to Texas because a Texas Senate committee schedules a public hearing on a bill to expand the medical cannabis program, you guys. That's right. Legislation to expand Texas's medical cannabis program has been scheduled for a public hearing on April 3rd. House Bill 46, the companion to Senate Bill 1505, has been scheduled for a public hearing in the House Disease Prevention and Women's and Children's Health Subcommittee. That's a long subcommittee. On April 3rd at 8 a.m. in room E1.014. That room again is E as in elephant, the number 1.014, with nearly identical language to its Senate
counterpart, which was recently given approval by the Senate State Affairs Committee. The bill would significantly expand access to low THC cannabis for patients across Texas. If passed, the legislation would allow licensed dispensaries to open satellite storage locations, raise the statewide cap on dispensing organization licenses from 3 to 6, and require approved entities to begin dispensing low THC cannabis within 24 months. The measure also establishes a 300 milligram limit on individual packages of low THC cannabis products, replacing the current 1% THC concentration cap by weight. And it blocks local governments from banning the cultivation, production, storage, and dispensing of low THC cannabis. Texas launched this compassionate use program back in 2015 and initially restricting access to patients with intractable epilepsy. And since then, the program has expanded to include conditions like multiple sclerosis, autism, terminal cancer, and PTSD. But the state still enforces some of the most restrictive medical marijuana laws in the nation, you guys. Well, Big Texas, they're going to have a little public hearing on the 3rd. That's going to be on Thursday, you guys, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
They're expanding access? Is that what
And they're trying to expand access on their medical program for low-grade THC. Which to me, it sounds like since Dan Patrick is trying to be, all against cannabis and trying to say, hey, if these bills don't pass, I'm going to call a special second session. It sounds like this is kind of like his default plan to be able to say, hey, we're still allowing for access, but we're making it super limited and we're only restricting it to these places and and therefore really kind of trying to clamp down on the market. I don't know, but what do you guys think?
Their medical program is a joke.
It is.
Access is incredibly spread out. This is optics so that they can justify the other draconian actions that they're taking. And this is to say, look, we're not entirely against it. We're open-minded. We're reasonable. I mean, if you drill down into this article, it's pathetic. It says, raise the statewide cap on dispensing organization licenses from 3 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's an insult.
Yeah.
3 to 6 in all of Texas.
Yeah.
Give me a break. If they cared about patients, I mean, the ones that are really fighting whatever good fight it is that they're fighting to try to stay alive, some of them need more than low dose THC. That's the other thing. I mean, that's not me, but the people who are really need a lot of THC. I think this is just a continued way to mitigate the criticism from all the other stuff they're doing.
And Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says, the moment this passes, Texas Original will start lobbying to not let any other applicants move forward. There will be no new players, they say.
3 to 6, that's all you got to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the low THC thing, I mean, we all know that medical cannabis patients typically need
high doses.
True medical cannabis patients need RSO or something that's really
high
strong.
THC.
Yeah, the highest. And I mean, we've even seen studies where THC injected directly into the site of a cancer site helps kill the cancer. So you need things that are really specialized in high THC. So what is this really doing? I mean, if it's for back pain or some very subtle, small condition, that's not that big of a deal. It makes sense. But if you're only expanding it from 3 to 6, it's not doing much.
Yeah.
No, it is doing much. It's continuing to restrict patient access in a very big state with a lot of people, and to allow them the plausible optics of saying that they are increasing their program. So it's doing exactly what it's intended to do, which is to create the facade.
Mm-hmm. It's very true.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's increasing the facade, and that's what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You got anything you want to say on this, Jenny Beth?
I mean, Texas, shame on you.
Fair enough. I think I could stand behind that, and you know what I'm saying. Shout out to high THCA, of course. You know what
I mean, shout out to something that works, of which Texas has none. So I don't want to hear how revolutionary things are and, you know, how much they're getting shit right just because there's some folks in Austin that are able to buy some weed and they're stoked they can get stoned. Like, we kind of got to remember why we started this, right? I started in Colorado for a reason, because that's where all the people from Texas and everywhere else moved their children with severe epilepsy, with cancer, with things like that, so that they could have a chance at actual treatment that would give them a quality of life that would allow them a childhood. So shame on Texas, and shame on the fact that people are pushing for this the wrong way. But you need to go and look and see what works in Colorado, see what works in California, see what actually pushes these things through, because it's not, hey, we're going to bring you tax revenue. It's, hey, we're going to change people's lives, and we're going to save people's lives, and we're going to improve the quality of lives of children in our country, in our state, in our towns. So that's what needs to be looked at, and that's what needs to be pushed forward, not just, hey, we want to get high.
Yeah, and just to dovetail on a little bit of the chat, you know, Nick Bradley, who's never shy, says, shout out to Full Spectrum Cannabis Medicine. And one of the things that comes up for me is, with Full Spectrum Cannabis Medicine, the ability for manufacturers to limit the THC in the product is really, really, really difficult, and probably counter what those medicines were designed to do to begin with. And so high THC gives people value, and for medical patients, it's probably much more therapeutically effective. And so if somebody's doing sort of a full plant extract, the chances that that's going to be low THC is lower than the THC limits. And so this is grandstanding. This is optics. This is bullshit. This is them saying, well, we're trying to expand it, but they're not expanding anything.
Fair enough. I agree with you. The only thing that they're expanding is the hot air in the room, Yarrow. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout outs to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution and to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and thank you to Cloud Media Partners Anthony out there in the metaverse somewhere, and thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Weed for the people.